Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I want to show you one trick for mixing a dual lead guitar solo. We're going to be looking at mixing a dual lead guitar solo, meaning there's two guitars going during this solo. But before we dive in here today, if you are ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process in its entirety and really start to hone your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's just a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process, step by step, to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without any more of the hassle and without any more of the guesswork. It is a completely free guide, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and look at this dual lead guitar solo. I'm going to play you a little bit of each section of it and hope that, because it's a cover song, it doesn't get the video taken down. So I'm going to play you a little bit of the end of the first guitar here, and it'll go into the second guitar, and then I'll play you this section here at the end where they line up together. So one guitar goes, the second guitar goes, and then they link up and play together at the end. So it's a little bit of a balancing act to get them to go together here. So take a listen. Here's the back half of the first guitar going into the second guitar. You can probably see visually what we're doing here on each track, but let me dive into the processing here first, and we'll come back and take a look at these one more time here. So here's our two guitar solos. What we're doing is we're doing our normal processing on each guitar solo and then bussing them together here. So here is our first guitar solo. So take a listen here. Well, I muted my mic too fast here, so take a listen, and I'll open up the processing so you can see what we're doing. These are both acoustic guitars, so it's an acoustic guitar or a dual acoustic guitar solo here. So we're pumping up a bunch of mid-range here to make sure it can really cut through the mix here. Acoustic guitars are usually, you want them to have that shine up on the top end, but when it's a solo like this, you need to push a little bit more of the mid-range to help it feel present and to help it cut through the mix, because the rhythm acoustic guitars are going to have that pretty top end. So if all we do is push pretty top end on this, then it's just going to be competing with the rhythm guitar. So it needs something in the mid-range to help it bump out. So usually our vocals sitting here in the mid-range, but once we jump into the guitar solo, we can push that mid-range a little bit further on the actual lead guitar itself here to get it to cut through the mix here. So rolling up our high-pass filter to about 180 hertz here, that's wiping off all the super lows that we don't need. Big cut at 359 hertz here, cleaning up our low mid area on the guitar. Then we're pushing 10.5 dB at 9.5 or 949 hertz here. A little dip at almost 3K there. And then here's our shine or our crispiness up on the top at 8K. But let me show you what this mid-range boost is doing here on this guitar. So with it, and then I'll take it out, you can hear the difference. You can see even visually, looking at the frequency range here, there's a nice big dip here in the mid-range because it is an acoustic guitar, and it sounds like they're running it through some kind of effects pedal as well here, or an amplifier. So we need that big boost in the mid-range to help it cut through and feel present in the mix here. Now I'm using this FET comp or this 1176 style compressor afterwards. This is giving us a little bit of control volume-wise on the solo. You can see our solo's pretty even all the way across here, but it helps us even out the solo, so when they do line up together, that we have better volume control over each piece of the solo separately, and we can match them together very well. Also using this FET style comp here with our slower attack and fast release, even though 0.54 isn't very slow of an attack, but a slower attack for this unit here. Even doing a 3 to 5 dB of compression here, it emphasizes the attack coming off the strings of the guitar, which helps it cut through the mix a little bit better as well. So that's our first guitar. Moving on over here to our second guitar. Same kind of processing here. We had a little bit of a ring down in the bottom end that we're taking care of, but same high pass filter, taking care of that ring, cutting some of the low mid here, not as much, but you can see that same big boost there in the mid range to help it cut through on the mix here. So we've got our second guitar soloed. Take a listen to this one with and without that mid range boost. Boosting the mid-range here helps, especially in a guitar solo, when they move all over the neck, we still have mid-range presence. So especially when they move from really up really high on the neck to really low on the neck, you're going to have that change in frequency, because when they're higher, you're going to get more of this top end that's going to cut through the mix. But when they move lower, you're not going to have that attack coming from the top end or those higher frequencies that's going to help you cut through. But if you have constant mid-range presence, it's going to keep your guitar present and keep it up front in the mix there. So that's that. And then same thing we were doing on the other guitar here, using that 1176 to even out some of the volume. You can see the second guitar moves all over a little bit, and we've already done some gain automation on it to keep it pretty consistent here, but using our 1176 to go that much further, and again, helps to emphasize the attack a little bit as well. So now that we have both guitars sounding good by themselves, now it's about blending them together. So what I've done here is I've set each guitar where I want it so it's going to cut through the mix. So I've set the level so that guitar feels like the prime part or the focus in the mix. So if we listen through each section here one more time, you can hear how the guitar, that part of the solo, is mixed to be up front in the mix. Now, once I get the level set there, then I'm using automation on one of the guitars to bring it down during the other solo, and then we're bussing them together to talk about the end of the solo here. But let's look here in the middle. So you can see when the second guitar starts to solo, our first guitar is still going here and doing intermittent fills in between the licks of the lead guitar, or the second lead guitar here. So we don't want that to be very up front. We don't want it to clash with the second lead guitar as it's going. So what I'm doing is I'm using automation here to duck down that guitar about, what are we doing? We're going down 3 dB when the second guitar steps out to the front. So that tucks it back far enough that it's still, you still hear it pop up in between the lines of the lead guitar that's going on, but it's not overstepping its bounds here. So take a listen to both of these guitars together here. You can see our guitar goes down 3 dB when our second guitar steps in, and you'll hear how it mixes in together. It's still an important part, even though the other guitar is stepping out front to do its solo, we still have important licks and important riffs that we need to hear from the second guitar. So all we're doing, using our automation here to bump it down just a little bit here so it complements the lead guitar that's going on, but doesn't overstep its bounds. Now, if you don't know how to do automation here inside of Studio One, you can actually just click on the fader and you'll see your automation lane pop up here. You click that A, and this automation lane will open up here. and you can use the clip gain there or the automation gain to automate the fader level here and put it where you want it in different parts of the mix here. Now, when they come back together, they need to be at the point where they are when they're out front, right? So each guitar is at its focus level here to be the main part in the mix, but then we automate the group bus here, or the level bus, to pull it down so it's not way, way, way out front, right? Because if we have both guitars sitting at their prime points volume-wise to be the lead solo, and then they're both going at the same time, it's going to be too loud in our mix. So all I'm doing here is I'm automating the fader on the group bus that when they play together, we go down about 1.5 dB. So it's not too loud and it feels even. So take a listen to the transition here from the second guitar solo into both of them going at the same time. And you can hear by bumping the group fader down about 1.5 dB, it feels even during the transition. It doesn't feel like the second guitar jumps up 3 dB and all of a sudden it's really loud. Take a listen. Hear how even the volume stayed as we moved across there? Both guitars stayed up front, but they didn't jump too far out front and overtake here. So take a listen to that same passage here inside the mix, and you can hear how we go from one guitar having the spotlight to both guitars having the spotlight, but they tuck back just a touch so they don't overtake the mix here. Both guitars sit where you want them by themselves, and then when they join up together here at the end of the solo, both of them together sit where you want them inside the solo. So when you're mixing dual guitars like this, do your processing on one guitar, do your processing on the other, set them where you want them, and then use automation on each of them if you need to balance them against each other, and then automation on a group bus to balance the level of both of them inside the mix. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you are ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next video.